I have already brought up the topic of appropriation, conflation, and abstraction, and how these are my three principal nemesis in the teaching of Himalayan art. I sometimes refer to them as the three daughters of Mara. These are the obstacles that students generally bring to the subject. And there are also obstacles that scholars in the field may hold on to that become a problem. Now, when it comes to appropriation, I'm not going to go into too much detail here. I'm just going to touch on the subject. This is a new lecture format. I've not actually developed it fully, and I've not yet taught it. And now, with Himalayan Art Resources, what we normally do is we develop a lecture, or we develop a curriculum, and then we test it at possibly at Sichuan University in Chengdu, China, or the Minzu University in Beijing, for example. And then we also we like to test things at Oxford University in England. So what I'm talking about now is just in its formative stages, looking at not the topic, not the field of Himalayan art, but what we're doing is we're looking at what are the problems and the obstacles that students bring to the topic, that bring to the classroom, that bring to the question period. What are the obstacles, difficulties, and confusions that the students have? That's what we're looking at. And that's appropriation, conflation, and abstraction, all boiled down. So with appropriation, we have different types of students. We have art history students, we have religious context students, we have very strongly faith-based students, and then we have students who might be interested in the iconography. So appropriation is a big issue with Buddhism. Now, not so much with Shravakayana, with foundational Buddhism, or not even so much with Sutrayana, with Mahayana Buddhism. But when it comes to Vajrayana Buddhism, then there's a lot of comments, sometimes complaints, that Vajrayana Buddhism is just a rip-off of Shaiva Hinduism, of the Shiva religion, and other Hindu type religions, Indian cultural religions. Well, this is partially true and also not true at all. So we have to look at it. Vajrayana Buddhism is a philosophical system within Buddhism, very structured, highly structured, and it teaches what is known as deity yoga. Deity yoga involves forms of beings, human-like, godly, heavenly-like. There's a large variety. But I was once told, just some decades ago, by an abbot of the Ngor tradition. And the Ngor tradition is kind of a sub-school of Sakya, but independent. It's administratively independent, the same as Jonang or Bodong. But that abbot once said that, Buddhism actually doesn't have any deities. We don't have any deities. We borrowed them all. They're all taken from other religions. So appropriation is a huge part of Vajrayana Buddhism. And we can't look at all of the different figures because actually there are too many. It's easier to look at the figures that are actually less borrowed, if we can say that, and are more invented based on existing practiced ritual traditions. There are deities that we can list that we could say, well, maybe these are more Buddhist or more Vajrayana. But a lot of the principal ones, and the ones that are easiest to come to mind, are the goddess Sarasvati, Ganapati. We have Hevajra based on Indra. We have forms of Avalokiteshvara based on Vishnu. We have forms of Avalokiteshvara based on Shiva, like Chakrasamvara. based on Shaiva tantras and practices. We have Mahakala, which is based on Bhairava, of the wrathful form of Shiva. And we have many, many images of Shiva, Bhairava, and Buddhist Mahakala in Kathmandu Valley, where you can't tell who's who. Is it wrathful Shiva, or is it wrathful Vajradhara in Vajrayana Buddhism? So appropriation is a huge part of Vajrayana Buddhism, and we have to learn what that means. Now, that does not mean that we have all of these Hindu deities within Buddhism, because we've changed them. Buddhism has changed them into Buddhist deities that do not have the personality necessarily or the identity of that previous figure. They merely have the appearance and some borrowings of function. So, press the like button. You can subscribe, you can join HAR on Patreon, and then you can also make a donation. I think today is very appropriate to make a donation on the Himalayan Art Resources homepage. Just go there, press the donate button, and then you're done.